Hey folks, welcome back to another video. I want to show you something inside of Bitwig Studio, and to be specific, inside of the grid of Bitwig Studio. And it's maybe something you can use to make some interesting sequences here. And let's say you have a basic setup. We have a sine oscillator here, an AD envelope, and an audio output. And also, let's use here an amplifier. Choose 75% for some reason. And then you trigger this here with the triggers module. 4 triggers for each bar. It sounds like this, and it's a bit boring because it's the same pitch. And let's say you want to have, instead of using the same pitch, you want to descend with the pitch. You want to go down. On each step, on each trigger, you want to descend by a certain amount. And you can do this easily, actually, inside of the grid by using here an external pitch module. So we can define a pitch, let's say D sharp 3 here. In my case, it's my favorite note for some reason. And then we want to use a pitch bus. And we want to descend here by, let's say, 3 semitones on each step. So we can do this by using here an input. And the input should be an integer, so a whole number. And we can utilize here the counter for this. So the counter takes as an input a trigger. So each time we trigger the counter, it goes up until 8. 8 is the highest number, which is, in our case here, read out. So this one is a phase module, and it gives us a value between 0 and 1. You can see this here also on the oscilloscope. It never goes higher than 1, right? The problem is the pitch bus now takes an integer, which is actually, it starts with 1, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So we can change this here by using a multiply and using a constant of the number here of this counter. So we have 8 here, right? So now we get whole numbers. You can see here it's above, always above. We can change the scaling here actually to, let's say, 8. You can see it goes up, and we have integers or whole numbers, which is kind of nice. So now we can go into the pitch bus here, and then we produce with the pitch bus here a pitch that goes down each time we use a different number going in here. And we just add this to our initial pitch. And this gives us now some descending sounds. The problem now is if you use different step sizes here, let's say -7, which is a fifth. We sometimes get into the range of inaudible frequencies, right? It's too low or it's too high. So you have to combine this then with the octave wrapper so that the note stays within a certain octave, right? The note is the same, but it's try to keep it basically, instead of going to, you know, C4, C minus 3, C3, C2, C1, and so on. You stay between C2 and C3. So we can implement this here pretty quickly by using a wrapper and multiply in front and a division. I made a video about this on my channel. If you want to see why this works, I don't want to explain it now. Then we use a constant here, and we need to use the constant of 10 because we have 10 octaves. We blow the signal up, go into the wrapper, wrap everything between 0 and 1, and then we divide it back so we get the same number, but inside of the same octave. So we can go in here and then there, and then it should work. use here this. So you can see this here, right? We go lower and lower. D-1 is way too low. But here we stay between C3 and C4. You can see it never leaves actually here the number 3. It's always 3, right? And here it goes down. But the note in front is the same. So here it's D sharp, here it's D sharp, right? So this is a perfect wrapper. And what we can do then is, if we don't like to have this note between C3 and C4, we can just use an octaver here and say, let's pitch this down 1 octave. So now we are between C2 and C3, and here we are between C1 and C2, right? So we can define then which octave we want to choose, because the note in front is always the same. All we change with this octaver is basically the octave number at the end, right? So it's perfect. So we use this, maybe I change here the color of this, and we can also, let's see, where do we do it? A quantizer, we use a quantizer here because we want to stay within a certain scale. Because when we use here some descending or ascending step sizes here of pitches, let's say a seventh, at some point we leave a certain scale. Maybe that's what you want to explore more, like, you know, micro, what's the name, chromatic scales or so on. But most of the times you want to stay in a scale. So we use here pitch quantizer. And then we go in here and then in there. And then say we want to stay within D sharp minor here. And then it's already good. But I also want to exchange the trigger thing, because I don't want to use polymeters when I use here different numbers. We actually divide 1 bar into multiple, you know, it's always 1 bar. So this is always 1 bar, but you can say we want to have 3 triggers for each bar or 6 triggers for each bar. So this is more like polymeters. And the easy way is here to use a transport instead of using the triggers module. So now we can say we want to have here we want to have a length of 16 notes, which is 1 bar. So this triggers each bar. Then we can say we want to have 8 length, right? So it's half a bar, more or less. So it triggers, yeah, each half bar. And we can also use for some odd numbers. So we can use or create kind of polyrhythms with this. So let's see how this sounds. Okay. So let's put everything together here. Bam. And now I want to try and combine this with multiple of these things, because we can just duplicate this and say, instead of length is here 3 notes, the length is now 5. And we have a different descending sequence here. Let's say -3 instead, something like this. And we want to use, instead of 8 steps, we use 10 steps. And we also have to change this here, right? So something like this. Let's see how this sounds. Oh, it's the same octave. So we use a different octave now here. So this is here between C2 and C3. This is now C3 and C4. Right? And then we put here convolution reverb on that and a bit of delay. And then maybe we use this one here and move it up, and we say that's even lower, so 2 octaves lower. And then it's 8, or let's say 9. And it's also descending by -5 this time. Let's see how this sounds. We make this a bit longer because the sequence is also longer here. So this is 9 here. Let's go for 12 maybe. And we use here +4. And here we use 13. Yeah, and you can create more or less interesting descending, ascending sequences with this. Need to find some sweet spots here for these numbers. Yeah, so this is a trick I want to show you. So this is how you can descend or ascend with a certain step size or with a certain pitch step size, and also combine this with the wrapper to stay within 1 octave, and also combine this here with the transport to create polyrhythmic kind of structures. Pretty interesting. I put the patch in the description below so you can download it if you want to. And that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Leave a like, leave a subscription, leave some questions, and see you in the next one. Bye.